Alrighty, what is up, guys? Welcome back. Evan Aldo here. So I wanted to give you guys an update on, what I'm seeing in the market right now. We're definitely turning around. Things are looking more bullish. It looks like, like I was saying in the live stream earlier today, that we could come up to potentially 59K, maybe even 61K. Actually, 61K does seem relatively likely. I mean, looking at that money flow crossover on that 3 hour combined with, the two-day VWAP coming up, that wave could bring us back up to kind of that general area, that 61. Maybe, I don't know what's going to happen with the FOMC meeting. I mean, some people speculate that, you jump up into it, maybe you come up here, you jump up back up to high 60s. I don't know, this is just speculation, and then you dump farther down after it. So, it's hard to exactly, say that. But what I can say here is that, I mean, your 2 week, it all on the macro here. So, if you want an argument for the bull run not being over, could be absolutely wrong, but if you want an argument for the bull run not being over, look at the money flow, right here on the 2 week. It looks like we got a lot more to go. Even if it's half of what that was, like let's say even if it's just half of that situation in the green than it was here, let's move this over, then, okay, if it's half, then maybe we are done, but you get what I'm saying. Like, even if it's, let's say it's like, 3/4 of that or whatever, since when you get him in the green there, you're going off until, sometime in 2025 in all likelihood, if you follow that 4-year cycle. So moving on from that, if we look at the weekly here, VWAP trying to come back up, your money flow is still bad, but you may get a deeper wave similar to over here, which could start the second half of kind of this bull run, and that could be helped out by the Fed pivoting, more liquidity into the system, lowering rates. Mortgage rates are really starting to come down. I think now for a 30-year average is below 6%, which is pretty momentous. I mean, that's a lot of, I think it's going to take the market a few weeks to adjust to that, but there's a lot of people that may be on the sidelines waiting that will get into real estate. More money is going to come back into these markets in all likelihood, unless it's a hard landing, unless we see unemployment start to go, continue upward, which it did come down a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't say it's definitely the strongest economy, but can they make things okay? Can they make things look okay for another year, with those cuts and all that, and keep us into another bull run? Absolutely. And follow that 4-year cycle? Absolutely. Looking at some of these middle time frames, money flow generally coming up, I think that you got a good shot of, continuing forward right here. I mean, if we do this through this would be, I think it's going to take longer for this to happen, but you look at like this situation here, kind of a weird reverse head and shoulder situation forming. If we were to do, if we were to break upward from that, you're looking at 71K. That could be a pretty decent area. Maybe you'll hit that, by the end of the year. We're already in September now. This year time goes by fast. We only got 4 more months of this year, which is crazy. So maybe you come up there end of year early, or something like that, and then come down, and then finally get up to that 80. I know I sound like I'm speculating, but I've been talking about this, comparing it to kind of 2016 into 2017 for a while. Then you finally make a new all-time high sometime in very late this year or early next year. It's kind of the earliest I would say you're going to go to 80, 90K, those areas. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in Bitcoin right now. In the very short term, I mean, you're finally getting a bear div on your 22-minute right here, which you're not even really hitting that linear spiral line right there. Next logarithmic one is right there. I don't think there's too strong of a reason to go short at the moment. At least that's what I think right now. And we'll talk about altcoins in a second, but there's some good stuff on altcoins that I want to show you guys right after I go over ETH right now. Similar situation on ETH. Look at that deeper kind of wave right here on Ethereum, similar to, voila, September of 23. September 18th of 2023, you printed that or confirmed that or whatever. That wave, that green dot right there. Similar situation. Money flow is coming out, generally coming out as well right there. That could be, the place. Now, in the meantime, sure, things can get volatile. I mean, it's absolutely possible to come back, scare away a lot of people, test 2,000 or something, but that 2-day forming that bull div is a pretty good sign here. We're seeing some more, good signs trying to fight back. We got a spiral line pocket right there. I would think this would give you at least a little bit of a speed bump on the way up, but I'm not seeing anything too bad. I'm not seeing a reason to short this as of yet. I think you might be able to hold this, break through this, and potentially get up to 25, 2,600, especially if I don't know what that percentage, let me just see. It's about 9%, 10% up. What's Bitcoin up to? Yeah, that would be around the same. Maybe ETH outperformed it a little bit on the way up. We could look at also getting into altcoins now. We could look at this one to where it was. So, well, let's go first. The main thing I want to show you here is this is huge. This is your first bull div ever, I believe, on others versus Bitcoin. Others is anything outside the top 10 in terms of market cap versus Bitcoin. It's bled a lot since January of 22 all the way down, but you're making what it looks to be is, yeah, your first bull div looking like ever on this chart, which is wild. So that could be a similar situation, to September of 2019, kind of that area, jumping up there, or even pandemic, that's where they started to, that was actually that was after pandemic. So end of 2020, essentially. You peaked out in October, it came down a little bit more there. So maybe it's like, instead of the higher low you made, so this was, June of 23, and then that was about, a little over a year later. This is a little over a year later, making that, I believe it's a higher low or double bottom. Yeah, it looks like the same exact area we jumped off of, but that's big. I mean, that's big if we can confirm, 13 days to confirm. Also, total 3, versus, or no, this was total 3. Oh, here's the chart. Total 3 minus Tether versus Bitcoin, essentially altcoins versus Bitcoin. We just confirmed it. Money flow coming up, bull div on that 2 week. Not saying you can't go lower, but it's a pretty good sign. That monthly, the same thing here. So it's definitely a pretty good sign here. So definitely could be something brewing for altcoins here. Now, what could happen though is altcoins, everything could go down farther, but altcoins could, continue to could outperform Bitcoin as we've seen. That did technically happen. If we look at, where was the last bottom here? Okay, that general bottom was, January 21, but you could have a situation like this. The market went down a lot here, but altcoins outperformed Bitcoin for a little bit. So that absolutely could happen. So I'm not saying that I would think Bitcoin and ETH would come up in this situation, but it is possible for altcoins to outperform Bitcoin a bit if they do come down. What would help that? The Fed pivoting, cutting interest rates, more liquidity into the system would help that. Bitcoin dominance too is interesting. So 3 week, it looks like you're approaching a top very high up here in money flow, but it also looks like you may be able to keep going. The 2 week is starting to get more bearish. Your money flow is high, very high, and you're getting a red dot. RSIs are coming together and coming down, starting to come down a little bit. Last time we kind of had that happen was here, January 21. So getting into that area and rejecting from this point right here, coming back up a little bit. I think it's going to tell us a big thing if we can, reject from here or not, or hold this area. But what could happen though is if we could jump up a lot here for total 3. I mean, altcoins could outperform Bitcoin easily by 100%. Let's look at others versus Bitcoin. If you can get anywhere near that old high, a couple 100% as a whole. And if you have good altcoins, you could probably outperform it, by a lot and get some pretty good gains there. I wanted to show you guys ETH versus Bitcoin. I know a lot of people, maybe you have some Bitcoin, you're considering it. Should I convert it into Ethereum? I mean, I'm looking for that 2 week bull div, that next 2 week bull div here. I don't think it's a terrible idea to convert it right now. You may be a little bit early. We may retest this. You may make one last final low down to 0.037. That's definitely possible. I don't think you would go much lower than that. I don't really think you would go down to these areas, 0.03. You absolutely could, but I don't think that's really going to happen as of right now, based on what I'm seeing. I think the whole market would have to nuke pretty badly for that to happen. It could happen. Anything can happen, but that's just just what I'm looking at. Matic is a pretty good one to look at right now, especially, if you zoom out, hitting a huge area right here, as well as money flow coming up on that 2 week. And then you have money flow coming up and trigger wave forming on the 2 day right there. And then jumping up a bit more, potentially up to 40 cents, 42 cents. I mean, the sky's the limit on this theoretically. I mean, that's kind of a double bottom. If you break up from that, you could end up back at 82 cents. When would that happen though? I mean, it could happen quicker than some may think. I mean, if you were to repeat this situation, I mean, those areas, you know, March of next year, March, April next year, I could see you fighting back towards a dollar potentially. You know, a lot of these could fight back in that amount of time. AAVEX has been looking pretty good. We're getting some speed bumps, you know, approaching this area right here. But when you look at like your 3 hour, 4 hour, it looks like you could break upward up to $30 potentially. I am liking how this is looking. We'll see what happens. We'll absolutely have to see what happens. I do like the not a true bull div there, but it is kind of a bullish setup on, you know, a lot of these charts. So we'll definitely have to see what happens here. But it does look decent overall. ApeCoin I was looking at, that's interesting, getting a big kind of jump up to 82 cents. You got a technical target if you break from that, you know, double bottom there around $1.10, maybe even a little bit more if you were, depending on how you draw this out. Yeah, around $1.10, $1.12. So we'll see what happens with that. That'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. Last but not least, I wanted to just look at Solana, obviously a, you know, very popular coin. Anchor wave printing on the 2-day, 3-day, same type of, you know, right there. I mean, it's all pretty good. It's all pretty good overall at the moment. I'm trying to think if there's any, maybe, so this trigger wave didn't do much, kind of a sell signal on the weekly, but this next one may give us a lot more, you know, a lot more. Maybe it's some more similar to that trigger wave there, and it could lead us all the way up to $600 something for a market cycle peak sometime next year. So that's what I'm kind of looking at on Solana right now. I do have some new long trades in the Discord right now. If you guys are interested, the link is down below. And if you guys want one free month in the Discord, if you sign up to any of the links down to the exchanges down below, my links down below, JUMPEX and Bybit and BloFin right here. So all of them are really good exchanges. No KYC, no VPN on BloFin. 10% only with my link, 10% off the fees, which is really good. Check that out. The $500 airdrop on Bybit, check that out. The link is down below. Like I mentioned, 9 more days to get that. You only have to deposit $100, I think, to be eligible. You got a good shot of winning this. And JUMPEX right here, really good deposit bonus. JUMPEX is basically Fairdesk. They just started a second exchange, I think, to maybe avoid some regulation for a little bit. So yeah, and like I said, once you sign up my link and deposit $100, just open a support ticket in the Discord and type in your UID and the exchange you sign up for it, and we'll get you sorted for that free month. All right, guys, have a good one. Goodbye.